All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going on a molecular journey deep inside the science of prostate cancer. We're going to try to understand how it starts, what gives it the fuel to grow, and how it so brilliantly and tragically learns to outsmart our very best treatments. It's a story of evolution, a microscopic battle with absolutely massive stakes. And really, it all boils down to one central question. This, right here. This is the heart of it. We're not just looking at a disease, we're watching evolution play out in real time inside the human body. It's this incredible high-stakes chess match between a cell that's gone rogue and all of our scientific innovation. And make no mistake, this battle matters. A lot. Why? Because prostate cancer is the #1 most frequent non-skin cancer in men. So understanding this journey isn't just an academic exercise, it's absolutely critical if we're going to find new ways to stop it in its tracks. So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it starts with a spark. A single moment of pure genetic chaos inside one otherwise normal prostate cell. Let's take a look at what that chaos really is. Okay, now this is where things get really wild. We often have this idea that cancer starts slow, one mutation, then another, then another. But for a lot of prostate cancers, that's not it at all. It's more like a lightning strike, a single catastrophic event called chromoplexy. The entire genome gets shattered and rearranged all at once. It's a one-off cellular crisis that kickstarts the whole thing. And what this slide shows is something crucial. Right from that very first spark, prostate cancer is not just one disease, it's already following at least two completely different playbooks. About half of the time it's driven by something called an ERG gene fusion. That's a direct result of that chaotic chromoplexy event. But then you have another 10–15% driven by mutations in a different gene, SPOP. So two very different paths to the same terrible destination. Okay, so that first spark has ignited. But a spark isn't a fire, right? It needs fuel to grow. And for prostate cancer, that fuel comes from male hormones, also known as androgens. So let's talk about the engine that powers this runaway growth. Inside every prostate cell, there's this protein called the androgen receptor. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like an engine. When the key, in this case an androgen like testosterone, gets put into the ignition, that engine just roars to life, and it tells the cell to grow and divide. And it really all boils down to this pretty simple three-step process. First, the fuel binds to the engine. Second, the engine activates and drives into the cell's command center, the nucleus. And third, it starts flipping all the switches that basically scream, grow, grow, grow. This is the absolute core pathway that powers prostate cancer. Now, if you know that the cancer's growth is being driven by this engine that needs a specific kind of fuel, well, the most logical way to fight it seems pretty obvious, right? You cut the fuel line. And that's exactly what our primary treatment strategy has been for decades. This whole strategy is called androgen deprivation therapy, or ADT. The goal couldn't be simpler: starve the cancer. By just tanking the levels of androgens in the body, we're basically taking the key right out of the engine's ignition. And we have some pretty clever ways of doing this. Some drugs, like leuprolide, go straight to the source and shut down the body's main testosterone factory. Others, like abiraterone, are a bit more widespread. They block androgen production everywhere. And then you have drugs like enzalutamide that go right to the engine itself and basically jam the keyhole so the fuel can't get in. And for so many patients, this works. It works incredibly well, at least for a while. The strategy is simple, it's powerful, and it's been the cornerstone of how we treat this disease. But here's the thing. Cancer is a master of evolution. And this brings us to the climax of our story. This is the cancer's great escape. Because even when we cut that fuel line, the most aggressive, the most clever cancer cells, they find a way to keep that engine running. This stage of the disease is known as castration-resistant prostate cancer, or CRPC. And it's the point where the tumor has literally evolved past our treatment. It has figured out how to thrive, how to grow in an environment with almost no fuel. It's a truly incredible and terrifying adaptation. So you've got to be asking, how on earth does it do that? If there's no key, how does it start the engine? The answer is as ingenious as it is devastating. It learns to hotwire it. The cancer pulls off this incredible trick through a genetic sleight of hand. It starts producing mutated versions of the androgen receptor engine itself. They're called splice variants. And the key thing is they have a critical piece missing, the ligand binding domain.
That's the fancy term for the exact spot where the key is supposed to go. And of all these hot-wired engines, the most notorious, the main villain in this part of the story, is a variant known as ARV7. This one protein is a huge driver of treatment resistance. And this slide really breaks down how ARV7 just completely outmaneuvers our therapy. Because that keyhole is gone, the engine is just permanently on. It's what scientists call constitutively active. It needs zero androgen fuel to function. It can still march right into the nucleus and turn on all those growth genes. And its levels, they skyrocket up to 20 times higher in these resistant cancers. The presence of ARV7 basically makes many of our best drugs obsolete. Now, as if hot wiring the main engine wasn't enough, the cancer has another trick up its sleeve. You can think of them like sleeper agents. There's this small population of super resilient cancer stem cells that can just weather the storm of our initial therapy. They lie dormant, and then later, they can reawaken and regenerate the entire tumor all over again. So it sounds pretty daunting, right? The cancer evolves, it adapts, it outsmarts us. But so does science, and this constant battle has forced a massive shift in how we fight back, pushing us toward a much more personalized, much more targeted approach. The new strategy is pretty simple in concept. Stop fighting the cancer that was and start fighting the cancer that is. It means we have to find and attack the specific, unique escape routes and vulnerabilities that each tumor has developed on its own evolutionary journey. And this new approach has led to this incredible arsenal of highly specific weapons. So for instance, remember that hot-wired ARV7 engine? Well, scientists have developed things called antisense oligonucleotides. You can think of them as tiny little smart bombs that are designed to find the genetic instructions for ARV7 and just destroy them before that rogue engine can even be built. Then you have other drugs like PARP inhibitors that take advantage of specific weaknesses in a tumor's DNA repair system. The key to all of this is that each one is a targeted strike designed for a specific cancer survival tactics. When you really step back and look at the whole molecular journey, it is at its core a story of adaptation. It's this relentless evolutionary pressure cooker. And as the disease continues to evolve, our strategies have no choice but to evolve right alongside it, step for step. Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The one that really drives the future of all this research. We are in a race. As cancer continues to adapt and evolve its defenses, can our science innovate and evolve even faster? The answer to that question will determine the future for millions and millions of patients.